This is Jared Wicks with Brandon Clements on this week's edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. We'll tell you the significance of that. We'll try to break down this week's Elimination Chamber, last week's Super Showdown, and we're going to start ranking Wrestlemania matches because it's the march to WrestleMania. I came up with a list. Jordan came up with the rankings. We then lost the rankings. Brandon ate pizza, and we're going to move on. Heel to the Face podcast starts now.
So silence your cell phones. Hold your applause and tune into the truth.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame in.
From the 315 to the world, this is the Heel to Face podcast.
The cream of the crop! Wow, man, freaked out!
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face.
I said, are you ready?
From Armory Square in downtown Syracuse, New York, let's send it now to Brandon and Jared.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
This is the Heel to the Face podcast. We are officially in the month of March. It is the March to WrestleMania, as we're joined as always with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. Find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21. Myself at K-Rock, Jared, and the program at Heel to the Face. I have, if you follow us on Twitter, dubbed this month Professional Wrestling History Month. I don't know if you've seen that, Brandon, but every day I am putting out on Twitter what happened today in the world of professional wrestling all through the month of March, because what better month to be Professional Wrestling History Month than the one leading up to WrestleMania? Kind of a fun thing if we start right there. What I put out today had actually some crazy significance to the local area. We taped this right here in Syracuse, New York. And on this day in professional wrestling history, Thomas Dotter, who was also inducted into the Syracuse Baseball Hall of Fame, met CM Punk because a couple days earlier, about a month earlier, he's also not just a baseball coach in the local area, but he's a liquor store owner who was robbed and lost his eye in the process. When our local news Channel 9 went to visit him in the hospital, he said the most annoying part of the whole thing was he missed CM Punk wrestle.
Yeah. He's a super fan.
He's a super fan of CM Punk. So CM Punk actually came because, well, as the WWE calendar kind of stays the same. I just went to the house show in Syracuse this past Sunday. A WWE house show was coming to town, and CM Punk stopped by and visited him in the hotel room on this day in 2013.
In the hotel room?
Hospital. Hotel room. He lives in the area. He was in the hospital.
I was going to say hospital.
Visited him in the hospital. I wonder if he's still his favorite wrestler, if he has a new favorite wrestler. After watching Super Showdown, and then we'll start with the good, the bad, and the ugly. I would say this is probably the ugly or the bad.
Oh, my God.
Somewhere between the ugly or the bad. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That's how we started the show. That is the combined total of time between both World Championship matches. One of them lasting 1 minute and 30 seconds. That was Brock Lesnar's squash of Ricochet, while Goldberg and The Fiend at least lasted 3 minutes. Give champions a chance. Maybe we should hashtag that. Remember, give divas a chance after the 30-second match?
Or here's this one. Here's a hashtag. If you're old, get out of the WWE.
Yes. And obviously, I and Brandon can agree probably on this. I'm going to assume a Goldberg champion. Thumbs down.
2 thumbs down. It's awful. It was absolutely awful. And I gotta tell you, the whole show was just awful. It was from start to finish. I literally had to fast forward through matches. I was watching every match, but I'd fast forward through it because, you really can't fast forward through 1:30 in 3 minutes. But some of the other matches that lasted, 22 minutes. The only good thing was, do you consider this a good thing, Undertaker? Undertaker,
No.
AJ Styles.
I'm sick of Undertaker.
Yeah,
at WrestleMania. I'm sick, especially now that this might be his most forced role yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
talk about Super Showdown being a sucky pay-per-view because there's no built-up storylines. Well, hello, AJ Styles versus Undertaker? Where does that come from?
Yeah,
You're trying to hype up the fact that, AJ Styles said he could beat anybody. Everyone says that.
I'll say this. The
Doesn't mean
match,
the Undertaker comes out.
The match I liked, which they've been kind of wrestling in the last, I think it's the last month or so, is Garza and Carrillo. I think their matches are good. I think they're fun. I like those. That match.
The women put on a good match. I thought it was pretty decent. One of the longest match on the card, 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Bayley and Naomi.
Yeah, I honestly,
not saying the best match in the world, but again, that's double the time of both championship matches together, and then add some time.
Yeah, overall, it just wasn't a good show, and to me, again, it's not. We were talking WrestleMania, another pay-per-view. It's not. It's awful.
I think Super Showdown
it's a house show.
deflated the road to WrestleMania. I was a lot more excited for WrestleMania before Super Showdown and before the Friday Night SmackDown that followed it, because now we have a bunch of matches. I won't lie. The Fiend and John Cena, again, not interested, and Goldberg, Roman Reigns. This is what you talk about with Super Showdown. What you don't like with that, that's what we're getting here. 3 matches were made in 24 hours that were just, here they're going to be matches. AJ and Undertaker.
Dumpster fires. It's a dumpster fire. Like it's like, what kind of build are we getting at this point?
And here's the thing. I love and I'm fine with all the competitors in the matches. I'm actually fine with The Undertaker being on the card, Goldberg being on the card, Roman Reigns, The Fiend. I just want to shuffle under the deck. I don't want the matches we have. I want maybe Goldberg versus John Cena or The Undertaker. That'd be better. Goldberg and The Undertaker got a lot to prove after their last trip to Saudi Arabia.
Does anybody really want to see that, though? I really don't think anybody wants to see that.
You know what? Here's the thing, though, and here's where I think WWE should do this. We had this WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans. We had one championship match. It was Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, which was the big guys, Is Brock Lesnar going to squash him? Is this going to be an awful wrestling match? And then we had the AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura championship match. So you had the best of both worlds. You talk about part-time wrestlers. I don't even think Brock Lesnar is part-time. Goldberg, Undertaker, John Cena, they're not part-time. They're per diem. Part-time is actually putting in part-time. They're not putting part-time.
Oh, come on. Brock Lesnar's per diem, too. Come on.
He's
okay.
Goldberg is per diem. I mean, he shows up. Here's my problem.
Brock Lesnar shows up, and if you go watch the Ruthless Aggression that just came out on WWE Network, he works when he wants to work. And if you watch a little bit of like in that 2 years that he was in the business, in his first run, he was not happy because he didn't want to work.
But here's the difference between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar in my eyes when it comes to being the champion. Okay, Brock Lesnar holds the championship belt because Brock wants the championship belt. Goldberg holds the championship belt just like The Rock held the championship belt a few years ago, just as something fun to do to hand it off to the next guy. Brock, he doesn't really have the intention to hand it off to the next guy. If Goldberg went through and started just spearing everybody, defeating The Fiend and Roman Reigns, and went on a 3-year championship reign, that would be interesting. I'm not interested in Goldberg being the champion. It's because he literally just won it so he can give it to Roman Reigns. It's literally the Andre the Giant beating Hogan back in Saturday Night Main Event so he can hand it to Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it is. It's poor booking. I would.
The Rock won the belt a couple years ago just so he could, it would give him a cooler build before his one and only WrestleMania match before he's back out of WWE. If Goldberg plans to be defending the belt, not even at every pay-per-view or every Monday Night Raw, but if he plans to keep the belt after Mania and take it in the SummerSlam and defend it a few times between, yeah, fine. But if you just plan to take it off The Fiend just so your match with Roman Reigns has the belt stipulation, well, that's stupid.
Let me ask you this. I know you mentioned John Cena. We won't go too far into it. Do you think, maybe in the future, I know John Cena's got 16 championships, obviously tied for, first with Rick.
Goldberg, if you're thinking 17, I do, because look at Goldberg.
Let me ask you this. Would it be in good booking, so to speak, if we had in next year or two a John Cena, maybe like in the Rock / Goldberg kind of form where he kind of takes the title for a month and does it?
No, I don't think anybody holding the belt for a month is good booking. Here's the thing, and this is what I was trying to relate to when I said the per diem guys and WrestleMania in New Orleans.
Brock's per diem too. Brock does not wrestle that much. Brock shows up here and there.
I'm talking. Let's talk just the straight up the once a year guys, the Goldbergs, the Undertakers, and I guess in this case John Cena, the guys who sometimes don't even appear at WrestleMania. In case of Undertaker and John Cena not even being at the card last year. In this case, I am fine with The Undertaker taking on Goldberg, even though that's a match that doesn't seem all that great. You know why?
Nobody wants to see it.
Well, that's fine. Then we'll have the actual good wrestling matches. Then we'll have the young guys. I don't want to see the young guys versus the old guys. I want to see if the old guys want to play at WrestleMania, let them play together, and let's have the young guys. So we can have the nostalgia factor of The Undertaker taking on Goldberg, and that's cool. And then we can get back to what we like about AEW.
Does anybody really want to see that, though? Does anybody really want to see that? I don't.
I don't want to. Well, would you rather see Undertaker versus the young guys, Undertaker versus AJ Styles, or would you rather say?
Of course not. You're wasting AJ Styles. Of course.
Then put Undertaker against Goldberg. Put those two together and give us AJ Styles and Ricochet.
I'm good with that. I love Ricochet.
That's what I'm saying. You have your nostalgia factor. You can have your match between Undertaker and Goldberg. It can last 1 minute and 30 seconds. We can think the entrances are cool and how it's a once-in-a-lifetime build, or Undertaker, Hogan, whatever you want to do, and then have the actual good wrestling matches. You can have the nostalgia. You can have the good. I hate when they're mixed together because Undertaker and AJ Styles, I would dream of that match in 2004, not dreaming of it in 2020.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, again, too predictable with Roman Reigns being a wrestler and Goldberg just holding on to the belt. I'd rather see Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think that's what we all wanted anyways. If we
I'd
had our
rather see
choice.
two competitors whom I don't know who's going. The problem with WrestleMania as of late is it puts a competitor who you know is not going to be around versus a competitor who you know is going to be around, fighting for the belt, giving off the obvious. Who's going to win? John Cena, who's scheduled to be on Raw tomorrow night, or The Rock, who's scheduled to be filming a movie tomorrow? I wonder, who do you think's going to win the women's belt? Ronda Rousey, who plans to get pregnant tomorrow, or Becky Lynch, who's the hottest thing in wrestling?
Let me back that up just a little bit. Well, Ronda Rousey, the pregnancy thing, that's different. But I will say this: it would be interesting, in my opinion, if John Cena or The Rock came back, won the championship at WrestleMania, and I know I contradict myself, but it'd be kind of cool if they won at WrestleMania, they go and film a movie, and then every so often they come back. Brock Lesnar does it. Why the hell can't they?
Well, yes, that would be great. But
if you're going to allow Brock Lesnar to do that, why don't you say, hey, John, why don't, you know what? Let's get you the championship. Can you show up like once a month or, once every 6 weeks? Maybe wrestle a one pay-per-view between now and, whatever, maybe one or two before SummerSlam, something. Just to make a couple appearances.
I'm just sick, I guess, and when it comes to WrestleMania, I'm sick of the predictability.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And with this now in front of us, it seems like the championship matches are all too predictable.
Here's the thing, though, to add to my point there. If John Cena, for example, is going to shoot a new movie with Vin Diesel, whatever, because I know he's doing the Fast and Furious thing. If he won the title, hypothetically, at WrestleMania this year, like, nobody would expect that because, like, he's going to shoot movies. That would be kind of cool. And then he shows up like the Brock Lesnar schedule every so often. Yeah. I would be okay with that. I wouldn't be a huge fan of it, but I would be okay with it. I think it's better. It's a better alternative than, we know Goldberg's just going to hand the title to Roman at WrestleMania. Why do we got to watch the match?
Rock did? Why did The Rock and John Cena the first time around will always be better than the second time around? It has nothing to do with the fact that it's the second time around. It has the fact to do that no title was on the line. Watching Rock and John Cena was good because of the fact that we didn't know who was going to win. Is John Cena going to win because he's the younger guy? Is Rock going to give up his spot? Or is Rock going to win? And which he did. I mean, Rock beating John Cena, the older guy beating the younger guy. It was unpredictable. I didn't expect him to win.
Which is good.
It was pass down the torch.
I liked it.
It was good because there was no belts on the line, so it can go either way. It's like house shows. The reason a lot of people like myself don't like house shows is because the titles are on the line. It gives up who's going to win this match. There was a tag team title match at the house show that saw the New Day, saw Morrison and Miz, saw the Revival in a 3-way. Now, Morrison and Miz were the champions, and they're not losing at a house show. So all I'm thinking about the entire time is how are Miz and Morrison going to win this match? If the titles weren't on the line, the New Day could have won that match. If the titles weren't on the line, the Revival could have won that match. It doesn't matter who wins the match.
That's why at house shows, you don't put the titles on the line.
Yes, but the titles are on the line, so you know the winners. As soon as they say, this match is between Bayley, the champion, and Lacey Evans, I go, who's going to win? The championship's on the line.
Unless you're an MSG. Then you get a title change.
But I would rather see no championships on the line because you don't know who's... Goldberg versus Roman Reigns without the belt on the line? Who knows? Because Goldberg won versus Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam because there's no belt on the line, so he can win and then leave. But you can't win and leave if you're holding the championship. So that's what gives away these results.
Are we done with Super Showdown?
We move on to the good AEW Revolution. I don't think it was as good as Full Gear, but either way, a decent pay-per-view. We've got a new champion, the first, I guess, new champion in AEW history. The title changed hands. Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, whatever you call him. He is the AEW champion. That was your main event.
Great match.
Good match with Chris Jericho.
Loved it.
I also enjoyed Pac and Orange Cassidy. That was a little unique. Orange Cassidy's got his little gimmick where, sticks his hands in his pockets and that kind of thing. I mean,
that was a surprising match. That was a surprisingly good match, I thought. I thought it'd be okay, but it turned out to be one of the better matches of the night, in my opinion.
MJF and Cody, I thought that was a great match. I thought
that was decent too. I'll say this: the match of the night, in my opinion, from start to finish, including the end of the match, where the post match, festivities, is Paige and Omega versus the Bucks. That was a good match. And then the post stuff looks like we're gonna get a Paige Hangman Page heel turn coming up.
Yeah, and I loved how they did it so subtly.
Yeah, you're not over the top with it. I like that. I think that's good.
Let the slow build.
Yeah, it was a good match. I mean, any other notes? I mean, another match that I didn't get a chance to watch because I was watching on alternative sources. I wasn't able to watch the Darby and Sammy. I heard that was really good. I didn't get a chance to watch that.
That was all right. And you know, it's funny. We have both cards in front of us now. There was 9 matches counting the two pre-show matches on the card. Actually, let's just, you know what? Let's count the main card matches. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 of the 7 went over 10 minutes. Now let's compare that with Super Showdown, which had 9 main card matches, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 7 went more than 10 minutes, and those barely went more than 10 minutes, except for the Tuak Trophy match, which was kind of a gauntlet match. But other than that, everything else stayed under 10 minutes, and that's the difference. That's the difference. You had this pay-per-view where every single match, you know, and you just mentioned the one match on the whole card that was under 10 minutes, and you still think, and you've heard, that was a good match.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what got me, because it was the shorter match, one of the shortest matches of the night on Revolution.
It's called quality over quantity.
Yeah, and again, comparing the two, Revolution wins.
Yes. I mean, just by looking at the matches themselves, you don't even have to watch the matches. Looking at on paper, when you see 1:30, 2:50, 3 minutes, and then you look at this one, you had a 30-minute tag team match, 22-minute championship match, a 24-minute match between people who aren't champions that just put on a good show. I mean,
here's the thing.
That's what you want in a pay-per-view.
Revolution, it's gonna be better than the Elimination Chamber this weekend coming up, which we're gonna get to that just now.
Yeah, Elimination Chamber. Most of the matches were just made this past week. They nixed the men's Elimination Chamber match that a lot of people in Philadelphia saw them advertising. But as we learned in Syracuse and Elmira this past week, even got as much as notice overseas in the UK. They didn't even know how to pronounce Elmira, New York, when they were talking about advertising and how The Fiend was advertised to be at both upstate New York shows. He was not at either house show this past weekend, so he lost the belt. Went to Boston, challenged John Cena for 2 seconds, and then got an extended weekend. Didn't even have to make an appearance.
Yeah, cool.
I don't think he's going to make an appearance at Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber looks like an absolute garbage pay-per-view, but they announced that there was going to be a men's Elimination Chamber match. They nixed it because, well, we all knew Roman. Talk about predictability. We knew Roman Reigns was going to win, so don't waste 30 minutes of our time in an Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
Having just Roman Reigns go up against Goldberg. And
speaking of predictability, I mean, women's match, I think the women's Elimination Chamber match, I think we know that's going to Shayna. So, I mean.
I think I said to you before, this women's elimination match should be the winner takes on the SmackDown champion, and they should have the SmackDown people, because currently the SmackDown, the Bayley challengers are a little more up in the air. We had Naomi, we had Carmella, we got Lacey Evans. We've got a few more people in the mix of who she could face at WrestleMania. It's a waste of everyone's time in this women's match for Raw, because it's going to be Shayna Baszler.
Again, I'll watch an AJ Styles match with Aleister Black. I think that'll be decent. That might be one of the better matches, probably the best match on the card. Andrade and Carrillo, I think that'll be decent. But overall, I'm just tossing the paper again. It's a dumpster fire.
Here's a question: what is the main event of this? I mean, look, we don't have Roman Reigns on the card. We don't have.
Who do we have? Nobody.
We don't have Daniel Bryan on the card. We have 6 matches as of recording. Obviously, they'll probably find some other matches, but maybe Roman and King Corbin again.
Yeah, they might do. They're gonna probably put another match or two that'll be announced maybe on on Friday night.
For the most part, other than maybe 1 or 2 matches on the card, everything could essentially be on the pre-show. From what I'm looking at, like Braun Strowman against Shinsuke Cesaro and Sami Zayn in a 3-on-1 handicap match for the IC belt. I see Braun Strowman winning this.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, I mean, I guess the best one would be the Elimination Chamber match for the SmackDown tag belts. That's got some intrigue.
There'll probably be some decent spots. There'll probably be some good spots there. But besides that, I mean, who do you got in that match? I
got Miz and John Morrison retaining.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's so predictable. Like, here's my thing: why do we have this pay-per-view? What is the point?
Because they already scheduled it.
I know that it's just poor. It's
like
scheduling.
Too bad you couldn't just cancel it.
Why have the Showdown? Why have this? Why don't you just cut them both and we have that nice break between
Showdown, or just having had Showdown would have been fine. And that's the thing. Having this after Showdown reminds me of a couple years ago when they had the Backlash pay-per-view a week after they had the Greatest Royal Rumble. I went to that Backlash pay-per-view, and the main event was Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe made his return after WrestleMania. For some reason, started a feud with Roman Reigns and had just what would be a Monday Night Raw match as your main event of a pay-per-view.
Overall, not a good show.
Yes,
I'll watch just for see
That's what I mean.
what happens.
There's a 1 hour pre-show, and the pay-per-view starts at 7, and is essentially going to be 3 hours. I'm looking at 6 matches right here. They're going to have to come up with at least 3 more to fill the card and have a pre-show match.
I'm gonna ask you your thoughts on this. Do we? I don't think we see a sold out arena. I think the arena is gonna look like shit.
I mean, it's in Philly. They normally have pretty decent crowds, and I haven't checked up on the ticket sales for that yet. But
it can't be sold out, can it?
It's
even in Philly. I know Philly's a great wrestling town, but
the Street Profits won the tag belts on Monday Night Raw this past week only for the sake of having to set up this rematch with Seth Rollins and Murphy. That's the reason they won the belt, so we could have the match at the pay-per-view.
So is Profits winning the match then?
No, I see Seth Rollins and Murphy winning it back. I feel that they're just holding the belts
it's stupid. Let's push the Profits. I want to let's get the smoke going.
Andrade versus Carrillo. I see Carrillo.
I think that's gonna be a change. I think Carrillo wins. I really do.
And Aleister Black and AJ. I think that it's a no DQ match, so I guess that has the best. That reminds me. I can't think of the pay-per-view and for the reason, but what was it? A couple of years ago, we had the pay-per-view. What was the pay-per-view where a bunch of people were hurt and couldn't travel, and we ended up seeing like AJ Styles having to put on a good match with Seth Rollins? You remember this though? I mean, it was like 2 years ago. AJ and Seth Rollins ended up meeting up at the last minute in a match that was probably stole the show on the pay-per-view.
Oh yeah,
but it wasn't scheduled originally. Yeah. I think someone's flight got canceled or something, and that ended up being like a last-minute match. They threw on the card.
I do remember.
That reminds me of this Elimination Chamber.
So can we get to the good stuff here?
So March 1st started what was the March to WrestleMania, and exactly 36 days to WrestleMania 36. So I decided what better than to rank the top 36 matches in my eyes and your eyes, and in Jordan, who one of our fans of the show's eyes, who works with us here at Galaxy Communications. Which are your top 36 matches in WrestleMania history? He came up with a list. I lost a list. Brandon never even looked at the list.
No,
so
I was too busy eating pizza. Yeah,
we're going to do our best to start off with 36 through 31, and every single week leading up to WrestleMania, we will get down to what is probably some pretty predictable matches. But so this will be more interesting because we're at the low of the low. Now, it's not the low of the low because these are still the top 36 WrestleMania matches.
Yeah, come on. Let's give it a little more credit.
It's not, we're not. Snooki did not make the list. Mickey Rourke versus Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 25 did not make the list. Santino Marella winning the one match, the women's at WrestleMania.
I forgot about that.
That didn't make the list. So, I'll start at the top of the list. Number 36, the best match on the WrestleMania 9 card. Tatanka, Shawn Michaels. They kicked off the show for WrestleMania 9 and what many think is the worst WrestleMania of all time. And there really isn't any other match on this card that's worth talking about. There was the Money Inc. and Hulk Hogan, the Hulkamaniacs. That had some build to it. The main event just completely crapped all over Bret Hart. He got some redemption a year later at WrestleMania 10. But Yokozuna beat Bret Hart for the belt. And then Hulk Hogan, for some dumb reason, comes out, challenges Yokozuna, beats him in 5 seconds. And, it's funny how things change, but how things stay the same. Yeah. Probably people at the time were looking at Bret Hart, super excited. It's his time. And then, nope, in comes Hulk Hogan out of nowhere with no build, no Royal Rumble win, none of that. They just give him a championship match at the last second, wins the belt because Hulk had to always be top billing at that time. WrestleMania 10, finally, with Hulk Hogan gone, became some of the younger guys coming out parties, the Shawn Michaels, the Bret Harts, the Owen Harts.
So this is your number 36.
So, but that is your number 36. That is the most savable match on this card. It kicked off the show. Tatanka, Shawn Michaels. I mean, Shawn Michaels obviously proved that he had some staying power, unlike Giant Gonzalez, who many put that Giant Gonzalez versus Undertaker match as one of Undertaker's worst WrestleMania matches at that time. Giant Gonzalez, very short window of time he had in the WWE. But yeah, other than that, the Narcissist, I forgot who we faced, Lex Luger, and the Double Doinks throwaway card.
Doinks, yeah.
Did like the theme to WrestleMania. I thought it was kind of cool, the togas, the Caesar's Palace theme. But yeah, that's number 36 on our list. I will move to number 35, and I will say another awful WrestleMania, but a pretty good match. Bret Hart versus Bob Backlund.
I knew that's where you were going on that too. We were talking before the show. I was looking at the list and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll be honest, I haven't watched all the matches.
Yeah.
So I'm trusting Jared's instincts on this, and I'm looking more so at the names and then the matches that I do remember. I was gonna actually put Tatanka and Michaels right at 36 as well. I agree with you.
Bret Hart, Bob Backlund, they ended up putting on another great
too.
match with the title on the line at Survivor Series 94. Or that was prior to this. It was Survivor Series 94 where the family threw in the towel. Owen Hart or whatever's family threw in, Owen Hart encouraged the family to throw in the towel. That's when Bob Backlund won the belt at one of those infamous Madison Square Garden house shows and then lost the belt not too far later at Survivor Series. But at WrestleMania 11, they had, I guess, a rematch, no belts on the line. A decent match overall. Bret Hart and Bob Backlund, two guys who can work. Bob Backlund, people forget he could work even late into his career. Yeah. So again, WrestleMania 11, a completely throwaway WrestleMania, one of the worst main events of all time. Give Lawrence Taylor some credit for doing what he could do, but I mean, I like the celebrity appearance at WrestleManias, but never should they main event a WrestleMania.
No, to me, that's just poor booking.
Yes, so that's going to be number 35. We move on to number 34, and I am going to take Triple H and The Undertaker first encounter at WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 17, probably the best WrestleMania of all time. Triple H Undertaker had 3 encounters. The first one at WrestleMania 17, a pretty good one. Not probably third on the list, but some good spots. I think a decent storyline that was back in the day with, Stephanie McMahon was involved in the storyline. A younger Triple H, the American Badass Undertaker. Not the best match on that card entirely, but I think a good match nonetheless, and definitely a WrestleMania worthy match. I
wasn't sure which one you were going to go with there. That's why I was kind of perplexed for a second. I was honestly thinking we might have gone with the 27 or 28, to be honest there.
Yeah.
Because especially a later Undertaker, a little bit later Triple H. I mean, hey.
I don't
disagree on it, though. I don't disagree. I trust you on that.
All right, so that we did 36, 35, 34, and now we're moving on to 33, and I'm going to say, two guys who were pretty famous, but can't put on the best matches. Hogan and Macho Man. Hogan and Macho Man, the main event of WrestleMania 5. The Mega Powers explode. A match a year in the building from WrestleMania 4 when Macho Man won the belt. Hogan wins the belt in Atlantic City at the Boardwalk Hall, dubbed at the time as Trump Plaza because he was one of the main sponsors of that WrestleMania. Not the best match, but those guys don't put on the greatest matches, but a great build.
Yeah.
Important match. Decent main event for the time. What you would expect, what you'd want out of a WrestleMania main event.
I'm good with it.
Doesn't hold up the test of time when it comes to some of the greatest matches you've ever seen. But that is going to be our number 33, right?
Yeah, 30.
And 32, I'm going to move 32 to another match, not the best match, but a match that's on the list because it's got to be on the list when it comes to importance. Hogan and Rock, WrestleMania 18. Scratch that off the list. Hogan Rock, WrestleMania 18, match number 32 on this list.
Two great names. Hogan,
yes,
too late.
Not the best match, but you gotta admit that the atmosphere in the stadium before that match was great. The one problem I guess I have with it, WrestleMania that year was on March 17th. So really,
very odd time.
Not a lot of build.
Yeah,
like 2 weeks, 3 weeks build from No Way Out to that match. And I would have much rather saw what we saw the year later. We saw Rock Hogan again the year later at No Way Out, where Hogan was the red and yellow. Much rather saw a better build for the first Hogan. The problem was the build wasn't the best. The crowd in Toronto made it what it was. The crowd in Toronto said, like, hey, this is Rock and Hogan. Vince at the time was trying to more or less build Rock and Hollywood Hogan. The fans in Toronto didn't let that slide, made it more Rock and Hogan, made it more icon versus icon. Even though that's what it was kind of billed as, it needed a better build. I would rather saw a year build for that. But that's going to be number 32. And finally, number 31, the first, it wasn't a TLC match at the time, just considered a ladder match. Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian at WrestleMania 16, also known as WrestleMania 2000.
Wow, you got them that low?
We have the other match a little bit higher on the list.
Okay.
The TLC match at WrestleMania 17. But the WrestleMania 16, the one that got it started, Hardys, Dudleys, Edge and Christian, without a doubt, probably the best match on the WrestleMania 2000 card.
Oh, for sure. I love that. That was one of my favorite matches.
Started the feud. There wasn't even a TLC yet. TLC debuted at SummerSlam. That was just considered a ladder match and pretty much set the precedent. So that'll be number 31 on our list of WrestleMania's top 36. So we'll do a little quick recap. Number 36 is Tatanka, Shawn Michaels. Number 35 is Bob Backlund, Bret Hart, WrestleMania 11. Number 34, Hogan and Macho Man. Number 33, Triple H and Undertaker. Number 32, we're Hogan Rock.
Yep.
And number 31, Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. Next week, we'll give you another 5 matches as we count down on the march to WrestleMania. We'll talk Elimination Chamber. What do we have in store? I'm pretty surprised, actually. Might be a better card than we thought because, like that December to Dismember pay-per-view a couple years ago, not much has been advertised. Who knows what we're going to see? Because they're going to have to fill something. They can't have 6 matches, especially with some of them being the quality that they are.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see Friday Night SmackDown. They'll probably throw a match, 2 or 3 in there.
So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. For Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, myself at K-Rock Jared, this has been the first edition of March's edition, first edition of Heel to the Face podcast for the month of March, on the road to WrestleMania. Find us all your podcast platforms, and we will see you next week.